Hello and welcome. I'm Tim Shank.
And I'm Brian McAvoy. This is episode 15 of Two Cyborgs and a Microphone, brought to you by Twin Cities Plus, creating an intelligent, capable, and resilient community.
Today's topic is the grinder and biohacker community.
There's a wide mix of people out there, from the micro-celebrities who have dedicated their livelihood to biohacking, all the way to people who've just stumbled into it because of a news article. Tim and I have been active in the community in one way or another for a couple years now.
Well, you've been much more active than I have, Brian. I'm more of I guess the term is lurker. I don't often chime in or post anything to the forums.
The forums are kind of the, in my opinion, litmus paper of what's going on, and the people who are there. There's everyone I just mentioned. They're examples I can think of from the website Biohack ME.
And there's so many good ideas. That's what's great is if you're just getting started with biohacking or grinding or whatever term you call it, whatever you're doing, you can go online and you can look through all of the threads, see what people have tried, what works, what doesn't, and so many other things.
The response people get there is pretty incredible. I've seen people go in there and they're like, oh my gosh, I have an emergency, and they'll get a response like usually less than 2 hours. And you know, there's nobody who's assigned to be there. There's no employee of that website who's, you know, sent to watch out for this sort of thing. They're not 911 operators, but it seems like there's always somebody who's there and willing to help, and it's really, really nice to see that sort of thing in a community.
And you know, one thing that I've noticed about at least the Biohack Me community is that people are very friendly and understanding, because a lot of times you get into special interest communities that you'll find experts that are a little less than friendly to people who are just new to the topic or new to the concept. And with Biohack Me, that seems more rare than I've seen in other forums.
I definitely have to agree with that. Now, the best example I have is I used to be on all these longboarding forums when I would build my own longboards, and those people were also super duper friendly. Like if you said, hey, I just bought my first board, I'm looking for some places to go, you know, push around, and people be like, oh yeah, you can't beat this place. Oh yeah, if you really like, you know, scenic overlooks, go to this place. And they were eager to help out their buddies. Conversely, if places like skateboarding sites, they're highly competitive. They have a lingo all their own, and they're kind of hostile towards newcomers. It's great to see that Biohack ME is so welcoming to new people, and there have been people who have come in with some pretty wild ideas, not the most feasible ideas, and they'll get a great response from really knowledgeable people.
And I think that's so important, Brian, because there's nothing worse than when somebody finds something and they're new to it and they seek out that community, only to find people who are derogatory or critical without having an understanding of how new they are to it and some sort of tolerance for that. I think that's really important in a community.
Now, logically, I recognize that. And emotionally, there have been times where I've kind of torn into a noob.
How so?
It's really, really not the kind of thing that should be happening. And I want to let myself serve as a bad example. I've totally seen people come in and they give this impression of being like a teenager who's like, oh, I want to do this thing from a comic book. It's so cool. How close are we to doing this, guys? You know, I'm willing to commit some time and like my allowance to it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Please shut up. I don't want to hear your insane prepubescent fantasy. And most of the time, I can stop myself from saying anything snide or from just saying to like, go to the wiki and just read up on it, you twerp. And there have been a couple times where I've not been strong enough.
I can think of a couple myself that you just look at and you're like, where, what? And I choose not to reply.
That's the best thing.
Better would be to reply with something like, oh, that's an interesting idea, but here are the 3 reasons why that would be totally impossible. And here's 4 reasons why you would never want to do that. At least kind of level set level set those people so that they can have they can start to adopt a realistic view of what it is we're talking about.
And that's the response I usually see, or at least that's the response that's acknowledged. There are a couple jerks on there, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you just need to go back home and, consider graduating high school and move out of your mom's basement." But the ones that actually matter to the forums are the ones who say, "Okay, here's the lowdown on what you're talking about," and they get a serious response. They're treated like adults there because it's the internet. The internet doesn't have old, young, male, female.
Right.
Unlike me, who puts my own face in my profile picture. Maybe I should change that.
So there's another community that I'm kind of I'm lurking in. It's called Long City, and it has a lot of human enhancement stuff. And I go to it from, I'm into the nootropics. And there's just so much information about chemical enhancements to the human body and brain that you just can't get anything better. I mean, there's so much information there. One thing that's always important is to realize that that's people. It's not authorities that are telling you this. It's not experts that are giving you your comments and your feedback. So it's important to double check, but it's a great resource.
Should we take this opportunity to remind everyone that we are not doctors, that our opinions are only opinions? I think we've said that enough.
I think it's probably painfully clear that neither of us are experts or doctors at this point. So another place that's great for people to go to on any topic, but including biohacking, is Reddit. There's a Reddit biohackers sub for people who know Reddit that has a ton of information, a lot of people talking. So
yeah, a lot of people on Biohack ME, they talk about people coming over from Reddit, or people on there will say, "Yeah, I just heard about this through Reddit." They all kind of work together. Facebook too. There are people on Facebook who see a shared post and find their way here. And there's, I can think of just one good one off the top of my head of a Facebook page just dedicated to RFID implantees.
I have not seen that one yet.
I think that's one of Amel's.
Oh, I'll have to take a look.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's moderated by him, and you do need to request permission, but I've never heard of him denying anyone.
Right.
I think he accepted mine like 6 hours.
So there's not much out there yet, but it's going to be growing in the future. I mean, I think anybody who's into this knows that this is something that is going to expand. I mean, biohacking, changing the way your body works, the way your brain works, the way the world works, really, is growing day by day. I mean, we're all into this life hacking thing, or maybe not all of us, but it's becoming very big. I think. What do you think the future of the biohacking community is, Brian?
I think it's going to continue to grow. I think it's going to continue to be that kind of fringe feeling of, people working out of the garage, because that's what it currently is. I would hope that eventually it does get to the point where there can be people who dedicate themselves to the community, in that, maybe their commitment and their contribution to the community is just organizing. Maybe they don't have anything technical to offer, or they don't care to offer anything technical, but they can basically be like a manager and say, "Hey, we're looking for people who can do X, people who can do Y, people who can do Z. I'm going to get you guys all talking." That's kind of where I see it going. Basically, evolving organically like any other institution as it gets bigger. Oh, what do you think, Tim?
In the end, I think everybody is going to be doing what we're doing. Either by that time, it'll be more commercial solutions and things like that. But I don't see recreational or functional cyborgism going away at all. I think it's only going to grow. So
Agreed.
I think eventually it will be the broader community, and there will be probably subsections, people who do mechanical modifications, people who do electronic modifications, people who do chemical modifications, and it'll end up being there. But I don't know how long that'll take.
That's a good point. I think you're correct about that. I think it's going to compartmentalize, and it kind of already is. You are what I would call an expert in nootropics, and electronics are my thing. So, we're in the same camp, but not the same tent.
Right. Is there an ideal future? Where would you like to see the biohacking grinding community go?
I would like to see it get more personable. Everything so far is text-based, which is kind of cold. You got to slog through it. And I think it would be really exciting if there was more like a virtual reality meeting space. And I'm looking at you, HoloLens. Let's see this happen soon. I want the community to meet a little closer to face. Tim and I, we live in the middle of the country, Minnesota. It's Midwest. And it seems like a lot of the exciting stuff is happening on the coast or Nevada, which is pretty far away. It's a little hard to get there. What do you think, Tim? What's your ideal future for this community?
Well, I don't know if I have a real opinion on that because, like I said before, I'm a lurker. I don't really contribute. I see things, and every once in a while I'll chime in on something that I have an interest in. But the ideal that I would see is just what I mentioned before, is that this is going to be such a common practice that it won't be a community. It'll be a societal conversation, I guess, what is the term I'd use, about how we modify our bodies just the same as anything else now. So I guess what I said is I guess that's idealistic.
Well, it sounds like we both see this growing and getting bigger. Naturally, we're kind of promoting it now locally. You and I have what we call the Happy Hour Plus, and that was started by you on Meetup. So what kinds of problems have you seen with getting people involved in the community in real life or virtually?
I'm looking at it from a kind of different view. I mean, I'm standing back and trying to gather that community, and I find that there's a flagging of attention span for people, and I think that's due to just the amount of stuff we have going on. I mean, there's so much more going on each moment than the moment before that people's attention, it's hard to gain and maintain people's attention in a real world setting.
Yeah.
For very long. That's what I've found. Now, online it's different because it's a static location. You can always go to certain sites and contribute. Whether or not you have a million things going on for a week, you can go in a week later and all of those conversations are still happening. In the real world, that just doesn't happen the same way at all.
True, very true. Plus, people kind of get a little squeamish or a little off-put at some of the stuff. For example, the sleep hacking presentation that we put on. The intention of doing the sleep hacking was that we can show people that biohacking doesn't have to be invasive or even scary, because it's like one of the best biohacks for sleep was have a tablespoon of honey an hour before you go to bed. That's not scary. It's not dangerous. And I think people just have that preconceived notion that it sounds like a scary word.
The DIY surgery doesn't really help that case. Just saying.
Yeah, if you type in biohacking and you're like, oh, here's how to get a magnet under your finger, people are going to be like, I don't need to sleep well that much.
Right, and I guess maybe it's too broad of a field, maybe that people associate one thing with the other, because they are very different. I mean, cutting into your body to insert an object is very different than changing your brain chemistry. It's which is also very different from hacking your sleep or your, something like that. But we do group it all together in one. It is all biohacking, and maybe it'll benefit in, that faraway place that I imagine to happen, where it's something that everybody's doing and it gets segmented. But until then, you kind of have to group it together because there's just not enough people aware of it to differentiate between the different methods and the different practices.
Yeah, maybe we got to write a guide of like, so what biohacks have you done? And people are like, oh, I'm not a biohacker. And be like, oh, have you, done cardiovascular exercise? Have you, ever, taken caffeine? Those are really soft core, but they're definitely
right.
Make people realize that, hey, biohacking isn't something that you can do, it's something you already do.
Something that we've done for as long as any of us can remember at this point. The trend I'm seeing is that more people are at least aware that they can change the functioning of their body. And it's still a fringe group, but I've gotten news coverage. We know other people who have gotten news coverage. So it's been in mainstream media now, and more people are becoming aware that there's some segment of the population that is doing this. So I think the trend is that at least awareness, if not adoption.
I think it's largely a matter of scale. People who drink caffeine or take an herbal supplement to get through the day is quite a bit different from do-it-yourself surgery. You and I see them on the same scale, and I think somewhere there's a line drawn in everyone's mind of, what is extreme and what is just my morning coffee.
I think that's an important point, especially when you're talking about community, is when you think something is extreme, you're not going to be as likely to adopt it. But as this rolls on and as more people become aware, some segment of those people are going to try various things. And that perception of what is extreme then changes. Because when you are a person that is actively engaged in these things, or even has experience with other people who are doing these things, it becomes less extreme perceptually.
Imagine it's 1995 and somebody's like, hey, everyone's going to carry a computer with them all day, every day. You'd be like, wow, that sounds so futuristic. And now we're like, crap, I forgot my phone up at my desk. I got to go run back and grab it.
I forgot my watch today, and I almost had to leave work to come home and get it because I was so disoriented by not knowing what was happening, because I could feel the vibration in my phone in my pocket, and I'm so used to just turning my wrist and I know whatever that was.
Yeah,
I almost came home for
that.
it. I almost stopped working at work and came home, but I chose not to. Thank you, guys.
I keep a charger for my watch at work just in case it dies while I'm at work. I want to be able to get that sucker back up and running.
Well, yeah, that's your lifeline, man. That's your visibility into the world.
Well, no, just my watch, not even my phone. Of course, I have a phone charger at work too, but yeah, I'm kind of lost without it. I wouldn't be the same person without it.
Interesting point. So I think our listeners would appreciate if we shared the links for what we've talked about.
I think they would.
We talked about Biohack Me, and that is biohack.me.
And what was that other one? Long City.
Yeah, Long City is at longcity, LONGECITY.org. And we talked about a third one, and it's a Reddit thread.
Yeah, it's reddit.com/r/biohackers.
And this is just three bigger ones that we've decided to talk about today, but there's more, and what we've talked about today applies to all of them, I think.
Yeah. And if you go there, you might find us.
You won't find me because I'll just be lurking.
Oh, well, you'll see me, hopefully not making a fool of myself or being rude. I'm pretty good about not being rude anymore. Thank you for listening. We'd like to invite our listeners to email us at twocyborgs@twincitiesplus.org.
And here's some exciting news. We have swag. We have ultra stylish hooded sweatshirts with the Two Cyborgs logo. You can support our podcast and look fabulous doing it. Like, follow, share, +1, and don't forget to subscribe on any of the popular podcast channels, including Google Play Music, iTunes, and Stitcher. Help us move up the podcast ladder by subscribing and commenting on iTunes. Commenting is super important there, so please do it.
That really, really helps us out.
This is Tim Shank.
And this is Brian McAvoy. You've been listening to Two Cyborgs and a Microphone, brought to you by Twin Cities Plus, creating an intelligent, capable, and resilient community.